Welcome back to another week of Engineered Coffee. I'll go through the news in the coffee industry and give you a short breakdown of what's happening in 5 to 10 minutes. Story 1. Vietnam's coffee market tightens. According to the Business Recorder, Vietnam's coffee market has slowed as the harvest season comes to an end. Suppliers are tightening. Domestic prices remain firm and Indonesian premiums are also increasing. Since Vietnam is the world's largest Robusta producer, this is something the whole industry watches closely. My take? After last week's Robusta episode, this is another reminder of how important Vietnam has become. 20 years ago, most consumers barely knew where their coffee came from. Today, events in Vietnam can influence espresso blends all over the world. Story number 2. The Wall Street Journal reported that Nestle reported that higher coffee costs have affected its results, particularly in North America, where price increases temporarily reduced sales of Starbucks branded coffee products. It also noted that coffee consumption typically recovers because it's such a habitual purchase. My take? It's a good reminder that coffee is remarkably resilient. Consumers might complain about higher prices, but most of us still willing and want our morning coffee. So, the weather still rules coffee. Reuters reported although technology is improving resilience, weather remains the biggest uncertainty for coffee. Brazil continues to monitor the impact of heat and rainfall patterns on this year's crop, while producers are already thinking about the 2027 harvest. And let's talk about coffee education. The Daily Coffee News reported that the Coffee Quality Institute and the Brazilian Specialty Coffee Association have announced a partnership to expand professional coffee education throughout Brazil, making training more accessible to producers. My take on it? This is one of those stories that doesn't make headlines, but it could have a lasting impact. Better education usually leads to better farming, better processing, and ultimately better coffee. Okay, that's the news in a nutshell. Here's the fun part. We're going to call it Coffee Fact of the Week. Did you know a coffee tree can continue producing coffee for 20 to 30 years, but it normally doesn't produce its first commercially useful crop until it's 3 to 5 years old? Coffee is definitely a long-term investment. And how about the coffee number of the week? Today we're going to choose 600. A skilled coffee picker can harvest around 600 kilograms of coffee cherries in a single day under good conditions. Once these cherries are processed, that becomes roughly 100 to 120 kilos of green coffee. And after roasting, even less. It really puts into perspective how much work goes into every cup. And the coffee myth of the week. The stronger coffee tastes, the more caffeine it contains. This is false. Strength and caffeine are not the same thing. A coffee can taste bold and intense because of its roast profile or brewing method, while actually containing less caffeine than a milder tasting coffee. Thanks for watching. This has been Anthony K for Engineered Coffee. Please like and subscribe. It costs you absolutely nothing, but helps get some more eyeballs on the channel. So until next week,